people, ignore it so much.
Right.
And even by the time you change it, you get a better feel. You get a pedal with a lot of water in it, or moisture. You can really feel that in the pedal.
Oh yeah, because water doesn't compress.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't compress. Well, that's the thing that I what was I going to say about that? I had thought about that, and now I lost it. Yeah, someone said this years ago, and I remembered it. They said, brake fluid is like the blood of the car. And you would think, well, maybe the motor oil should be more like the blood of the car because it's pumped through the engine. But he says, no, the reason I say brake fluid is the blood of the car is because it's a very important liquid. And if you see it outside of the vessel that it's in, you're already in trouble. It's too late.
Yeah.
And he's right. I mean, you see an oil leak, you can still drive your car. But if you see a brake fluid leak, you got problems.
Yeah, you better hope you got a boat anchor to help you stop.
And right, and because now
or some really good friends that are going to stand out and slow you down when you come by.
Because you're going to have at best one circuit of brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be like me and drive around with single cylinders.
Exactly. So so I do the flushes all the time because they're easy. They're easy. See, now I'm contradicting myself. It's easy on a car that doesn't have a problem. My wife's car didn't have a problem, but now I did a brake fluid flush, and now I'm feeling a problem. So I'm going to go back in and investigate this one.
And take a really close look because I had the same thing with my F-350, and I had a cracked puck or a piston, brake caliper piston.
Yeah,
had cracked, and it had a very small seepage of brake fluid.
Yeah,
and I noticed the pedal will feel funny, and like I said, am I imagining it or whatever, but. So finally, I took it all apart, found the puck or the piston, and went to go replace the brake caliper because I couldn't find the puck. I would have rebuilt it, but found a brake caliper, put it all back together, bled the brakes, drove the truck around for 2-3 days. Third day, I had no brake pedal.
Really?
And I'm like, okay, and I'm like searching around, and the new brake caliper that I put on had a little bit of brake fluid around the bleeder screw. So at first I loosened it and then tightened it back up, and then I bled the brakes and did it again. A couple days go by, had no brake pedal again. And I'm like, man, what the heck is going on? And I started looking, and this is where I got my pressure bleeder. And I pressure bleeded the system. And I laid down on the ground, took a little nap, and waited for it. And finally, you could just see a little bit of brake fluid.
Yeah.
And so I, took the pressure off, took it apart, cleaned it all up, changed the bleeder valve. Looked. And finally, once I took it all apart for the third time, there was a hairline crack all the way down inside where the bleeder pressed up against the seat of the thing.
So that was a remanufactured caliper?
Yeah, that was a remanufactured. Right. Of course, here we go again. What does new stand for? Never ever worked.
Well, years ago, I was doing front calipers on a Chevelle. Put a pair of them on. Left side, couldn't get it to bleed. Had a problem. And then when I looked, I saw just what you said. There's the flat pad where they drill and tap the hole for the bleeder. And right at the top, there was a crack in the caliper. So it would let the fluid out. I was like, son of a bitch, okay, send it back. And send another one, please. Let's see if that one will work. So yeah, I mean that's kind of oddball stuff. You got. Well, this car, believe it or not, has rear drum brakes still, so it's not a caliper. It's a wheel cylinder.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I was going to do the computer bleed. The problem with the computer bleed is, I have a scanner that'll do it, but I went through it once, and at some point, you hold your foot on the pedal and it pulses the ABS pump and everything.
Yeah.
But then at some point, what it says is, okay, hold the pedal down and open like the right rear bleeder. Well, unless you have somebody with you, and I didn't. I was in the shop alone. I was like, all right, there goes that procedure.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. So
that's when you open the back door up and you have the the broom handle, and you're pushing down on it, reaching across. Come on, Ray.
Since then, I have bought the brake pedal tool, to hold the pedal down. It works kind of funky in certain cars. It doesn't work perfect in every car, but at least if I had to hold the pedal, I could use that. But this is something we talked about the other day on the show. When you have a car on the lift, doing anything inside the car is next to impossible.
Yeah.
Because the doors only open as far as the lift posts. So to get in there is like ridiculous. And God forbid you got to do anything in there. You got to be like 110 pounds.
Well, that's why they make those other lifts. It's something symmetrical where it turns it a little bit. You could open the doors better.
Well, I'll tell you this, Keith, the lift that we have at the shop.
It's probably not that.
No, we have two of them. And one of them, the posts are turned on an angle. So when the doors open, they could open a little further because they follow the angle of the posts.
Right.
The other one is straight.
Yeah, it's right there.
But still, it's like, if you have I had a truck on there, and I just couldn't, you just can't. Because you got to
you can't open it all the way.
You have the lift arms that are shaped like a V on each side. And you got to be in between. So you're going underneath and getting in between the lift arms, too. Believe me, it ain't as easy as it looks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so still on the hunt for the brake stuff, but so
you don't use those little one-man bleeder with the little tiny little bucket or the little can, and it just has hose in it.
I have one of those, and to do that, you have to go in and press the brake pedal.
Yep.
And that's when I use the broom handle.
Yeah.
And I had said this, I like to see what's coming out, and you can see maybe what's on the left side of the car because you're there, but you can't see the other side.
Yeah. What I did was I had a GoPro. I put the GoPro there. I had my phone connected to it, and I'm like pressing. I go, oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, stuff's going in.
I mean,
it's kind of.
My rule of thumb is this: if the system was sealed before and didn't have a problem, I'll give it a good 6 or 7 pumps.
Yeah.
And go and and then close it. That's usually enough to get any air out.
Yeah. It's got that little container, and I filled that thing up, and it spilled all over. I'm like, okay,
come on,
too many
guys.
Too
You're
many
supposed
bumps.
to do it the right way. You're supposed to wait until like around 11:30 at night. Go in, get the wife, and say, "Hey, baby, I need your help."
Open it.
And you go out there and throw her in the front seat and tell her to pump the brakes. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, live on the edge. You gotta take it to the next step.
Well,
you gotta man up, make her come out.
That's it. You gotta see. I got my man backing me up there.
Yeah, the guy who wasn't even at home working on his own car. He's in another location.
Yeah.
Well,
undisclosed location.
My buddy at the shop, a while ago, he sent me a video, and I mentioned it, and it was of like some kind of a device that you put on the front seat that would automatically, like robotically, push the brake. I was like, "That's what I need, man. I need the little robotic brake leg."
What do you hit it? What do you hit a button and then?
I guess you actuate it, and
actuate that.
And you could probably set the rate because at that point you can set the rate and speed, whatever. But I don't have one of those. So we do it the other. But on that, Keith, that valve, I have one, and again, it's a one-way bleeder. It goes on a tube. You put it into. What I did is I took a Gatorade bottle. It's pretty big, a pretty good amount, 16 ounces, and put the hose through the top and put it in there.
Yeah.
So, and I've had it for I don't know how many hundreds of years. So just in the last year, I was working on that problem Mustang, and I couldn't get the brakes to bleed. And in their literature, they said they were talking about centering the proportioning valve, and they said if you open a wheel on each circuit at the same time, like one of the fronts and one of the rears, they said get two one-way bleeders, and open the bleeders and then push the brake pedal, and that'll center it. And I said, I'll try that. So I went to the parts store by me, which is a pretty good one. And I asked if they had the bleeder, and one guy says, "What? What is that?" I didn't bring it with me, but I said it's a one-way brake bleeder. I said I think KD made it. It was blister packed.
Yep.
It used to be like, I don't know, $8 or $10, $12, right? So he didn't know. He goes back and talks to the boss, who's an old timer. He comes out and he says, "Yep." He says, boss says we have one. He knew exactly what you needed. So it was hanging in the back. I guess nobody had called for it. So he says, "Here we go. I got it." I'm like, "Okay, great. I'll take it."
$75.
It wasn't. Thank God, no, $35. And I said, "Are you coming and bleeding the brakes with me? like paying you for an hour?" It's like, "Did I break a window on the way in?" Like, what? It's like a $10. No, dude, that's what it costs. I get that. I said, "All right, I'll take it."
He's had it sitting in the back for the last 20 years. And as the price increased, he probably paid $4.99 for
Right.
it. So that was threw his profit over the edge there, Ray.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, it's part and parcel. I also had to buy a quart of GM Synchro Mesh transmission fluid for my Pontiac. It takes, it's a Tremec, so it takes Synchro Mesh fluid. $25 for a quart of transmission fluid. But then again, I bought a can of spray paint. It was $16. I was like, this was like $4. I remember when it went to $8. I was like, 6 or 8. Now you tell me $16. Where's it got eggs in it?
There's eggs in it.
Eggs and mayonnaise.
Yeah, right.
Man.
So yeah, prices are. I'm getting the shop price. So I'm not getting the off the street knucklehead price. I'm getting the shop knucklehead price, which is better.
Supposed to.
Man, yeah, it's getting to be an expensive game. It really is. It really is. So the good thing is, like with brake fluid, we buy it by the gallon jug from Walmart. He'll order like 6 gallons at a time, keep 2 at the other shop, and then he'll send like 4 over to me because I do most of the brake work. In fact, I'm getting low now. I'm on the last bottle. I'm gonna have to tell them to get me some more. Walmart has some great prices on fluids. They really do. Yeah. So that's a little shopping tip there for everybody. But so yeah, we're not done with that one.
You use straight up .3. You don't do anything.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It's .3.
.3.
Yeah, .3, which is .34 compatible. Yeah. We've had a couple of the Crown Vics that came in. Actually, my buddy at the shop, he's bought a few. He's bought a couple that he flipped, and he's actually driving one now. And they're ex-police cars, but they were like the detective or the inspector cars. They weren't just, they weren't RMPs. And whenever I do them, they either have like a green fluid, which I think is Girling.
Yeah.
Or some of them had, well, if there's purple, it's .5. Yeah. A lot of those Fords have had that green fluid in it, and I guess they're using Girling, which is good stuff.
Yeah, we had from the days of Porsche and that super blue stuff, that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
From the they had blue, and then they had like a gold color. Mm-hmm. We would you had to switch them back and forth for track days. So that you had you did the brake fluid flush.
Right.
The fluid. So guy would come in, it'd be blue, and then the next time he left, it'd be gold.
Yeah.
A lot of guys would switch them that way. Because.
All right. So how are you doing flushes at that time at the dealership?
I was using my KD pressure bleeder.
Okay.
Right. And like I said, I would get my turkey baster and suck out the the reservoir. And if the reservoir was really, really funky inside, I would pop it off and spray it down with brake clean
Yeah.
and blow air through there. The only problem is you try not to do that because the clutch cylinder or the clutch fluid reservoir was in that master cylinder.
Yeah.
So the master cylinder was really divided up into 3 sections, and you had a reservoir for clutch fluid in there.
Oh, wow.
So when you popped it off and cleaned it all out, then you had to really go through and bleed the slave cylinder, the clutch master slave cylinder.
Right, right.
Which was sometimes can be a real pain, especially on a turbo car. But if it was, you had to do what you had to do, and then you pumped it up to 32 psi and opened her up,
Right.
and change the fluids. Go through and do the fluid.
Right.
I will admit the pressurized system made it easier doing the clutch slave cylinders, clutch masters.
Now I have the Mighty Back system. That's the opposite of that.
You mean the Phoenix system?
No, I have the Phoenix. Phoenix is a reverse bleeder.
Right.
So what you do with that is you take the tool, and at the back of the gun there's a tube, and you stick that into a bottle of brake fluid. It'll suck it in, and right at the end of the nozzle of that gun is a chamber, and you can actually dial in how many cc's per shot you want. I don't know why you would do that, but you have the ability to do that. And then, so what you do is you purge the gun of any air, with fresh brake fluid coming out of it. You put the hose on the bleeder, and then what you do is with the bleeder open, you pump the gun. It sucks the fluid out of the bottle, through the gun, into the bleeder, and up through the system.
Right.
So what you have to do is, now the level in your master is going to rise, not go down. So in the beginning, if you're starting with a full master, you want to take some fluid out. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the engine bay and the floor.
Right.
And you have to keep checking to make sure that that you're not overflowing the master. But I've used that on cars that I did a complete brake changeover. Like on Mike Chevelle, we did that. All new lines, new calipers, new wheel cylinders, new master, totally dry system. I bench bled the master, and then I said, all right, how am I going to do this? Because it's full of air. And I said, I'm going to reverse bleed it. And that's what I did. The fluid going into the right rear wheel cylinder pushed the air. It's a theorem in physics that, well, it's not. It's actually a fact. Air rises in fluid.
Yeah.
We all know that from being in a bathtub when you're a kid, right? Where's the air go? It comes up.
Chocolate milk used to blow bubbles in the chocolate milk.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So, and even with soda, you have effervescence, bubbles rise. So the theory is, I read a guy's dissertation on this. It was a whole it was like a real professional paper that he wrote. So he says his theory was when you force fluid down from the master cylinder, or you try to pull it out through a wheel, you're pulling the air down with the fluid, and then once you stop the suction, the air is free to go back up again and maybe find a high spot in the line. Because sometimes we've had some cars that just one wheel or two wheels didn't want to bleed.
Right.
That's why there's air trapped. So unless you can pull it through, and if you can't because of the volume that you move, he says that's when you want to push it the other way. Push fluid behind the air will scoot up because that's how it wants to go, and it'll actually go up through the system.
Yeah, well, it's very similar to like a cooling system. That's why sometimes you jack up the front of the car a little bit to get it higher,
right?
So that you get that air. It's like, sometimes you got to show the smoke out the chimney. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Same thing.
Exactly. I know it sounds kind of funny, but
no, the Pope bleeds brakes.
It works, huh?
The Pope bleeds brakes. Why not?
Yeah.
Just have smoke come out of the chimney, right? So that's the thing with And the theory is good. The reverse bleeder lets you do it. The only thing is you can't use. They don't want you to use a reverse bleeder on a car with ABS brakes. They don't want anything going back because
Through
it'll
the ABS.
stuck. If there's debris, and there is debris in the brakes, we've all seen it. Like, first of all, just when you see the fluid gets dark and black, and you say, well, why is it getting black? It's not oil. It's not being used like oil. That's basically the inside of the rubber hose.
Yep.
That's what it is. And I have test strips that you could use, and you use them to show a customer what's going on. But it's a litmus paper test, just like for your swimming pool, and it shows what degree of which metals are now in the brake fluid, because there's always going to be copper, there's always going to be some iron, there's others as well. I don't remember what they all are, but the test strip shows it.
And moisture.
And you're gonna have moisture because brake fluid is hygroscopic, so by definition it absorbs moisture.
I've had a car so bad and so long that when it got cold, there was ice in the master cylinder.
Oh, wow.
One of those. I'd like, just like I watch these videos and I see these guys that bring a car in and the brake rotor is like the ring is broken off of the rotor. Yeah. I'm waiting to see one of those in person.
Really? Oh, I've seen.
I have never seen one, but I'm waiting.
I had a 928 come in one time, and it was metal to metal like that, and so he had wiped out the brake caliper. I mean, everything was just gone, So white car, and so we get all back together and cleaned up, and down the road, and I don't know, a couple of weeks go by. Service manager comes back. He says, "Hey, you remember that 928 that you worked on with the brakes?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, he goes, "Hey, I got this guy with this 928, and he said that he's got rust all on the bottom of the door." And I was like, "Well, that can't be because they're galvanized. They're, it's aluminum and galvanized bodies."
Right.
And I started thinking, I was like, "Hey, is this a white one? What's his name? The one we put the brakes on?" He goes, "I don't know. Let me ask." He comes back and goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, he needs a paint job." Because what happened, all the little metal shavings melted into the paint. And when you washed it, the metal was rusting in the paint.
Wow.
It would turn orange.
Wow.
And so those are, like you said, those videos that you see when cars come in that you can't believe they're still driving, or that you went for the ride.
Yeah.
You actually went for a drive, and you come back and you finally. I learned real early in life to at least bring the car into the shop first and put it up in the air and at least kind of look to make sure that things were connected before I went for a ride.
So speaking of that, because it's a funny story, the guy with the 66 Mustang, when we were doing the steering conversion, I said to him a couple times, I said, because we had just gotten over doing, sorting out his brakes. And I kept telling him we're going to do a danger drive. So I got that off a TV show.
Yeah,
there was a show a couple of years ago called El Rey's Garage. They were in Los Angeles. In LA, there's a lot of those cool little corner gas stations. They usually have an angled front. So it's not a square building. It's an odd shape. And it just fits in the corner perfect. And there was a ton of them. And this was one of those old stations from the 50s. I think a two-bay garage. And these two guys, the one guy was a biker, long hair, flannel shirts, biker. He was a white dude. The other guy was Hispanic, and it was his shop, El Rey. I guess his name was, it was a R-E-Y. So they would always go and pull in cars, sometimes from customers, or sometimes they'd find them like up in the hills, and they'd buy them to flip them. So they would always say, we're bringing our jump box with us and some gas, and we're going to do the danger drive. And to them, the danger drive meant we're going to drive it out of the hills, and we don't know if we have brakes.
Yeah.
we'll be crashing off a guardrail or whatever. So I kind of adopted that and just started using it where anything I work on, like, yeah, I'm going to do the danger drive because you don't know what's going to happen. So the funny part of the story was I said it enough to the guy with the Mustang that he remembered it. And then he said to me, he goes, okay. I said, are you ready to go? We're going to go do the drive. He said, you're driving. He goes, oh, I get to do the death drive? I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, whoa, where'd you get that from? And he's looking at me like so innocent. I'm like, I know what you're going to say. You got it from me, and you didn't get it from me. I said danger drive.
Not
I said,
death.
if it's a death drive, dude, you're going alone.
Death drive.
I'm not going with you. I said, the idea is to come back. It's maybe dangerous, but it's not deadly. So I had to laugh my ass off because it was just so funny that, he picked up on it the wrong way. I said, don't say that again. So
That's funny.
yeah. But yeah, that's why I always say it's like you don't know what you're going to get when you go out for that ride. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Is something going to fail? In the case of his car, we went out with no headlights working, hit a bump, and then they came on. I was like, cool. I said, we fixed that. Of course, get back to the shop, and I'm looking for a bad connection. Couldn't find it. It ended up, it was the combination between the headlight switch and the high beam switch on the floor was just so destroyed that it was, it just made connection like one last time, and that was it.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah. So we'll be seeing him this weekend because now his car started getting some body work done to it. They were trying to align the panels. The car had a lot of panel replacement done. Some of it was okay. Some of it is kind of sketchy. So I don't know how far they're going to go in aligning these panels. They may have to add metal in some spots, and I don't think they have to take anything away. I think I saw more gaps than I saw closeness. And they're going to just here's something for people to think of. When you get a car painted, it's not one size fits all. You can do it a number of different ways, and there are ways to save money. So case in point, they're talking about doing his car in hot rod black. So they're saying, okay, it's going to be a single stage paint, single stage clear, and they can get the paint for like $350. I know Lewis has bought the paint for his bus at Summit, and I was telling my buddy who's a painter about that. I said, yeah, check out Summit. They got some pretty good prices on nice paints. So we were talking about that. And then my buddy at the shop, he bought himself an Acura like he had in high school. So he just put it into the paint booth. I saw it the other day, and it's black, and it looks beautiful. He says, yeah, you know what? I wasn't going to spend a lot of money. So I went, whoever supplier's using, I spent $300. I got the basic black, the basic clear, done. $300, cost painted.
Yeah.
So as we were talking now, I told my buddy from the shop was there, and I said, Mike, tell him what the paint costs for my car. So he's like, oh my God.
Gold?
Yeah, it was about $7,500. He's like, what? He says, yeah, it was like between the paint and the clear. He goes, yeah, it was about $7,500. He goes, that's when you're getting into that range of paint jobs, He says, but you don't have to spend that if you don't want. You can. So people think that it's, they get brainwashed and they hear people talking about these real expensive paint jobs.
So was yours 3-stage paint?
Yes. Yeah.
Base coat, clear. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a multi-stage plus, it's got the dedicated primer to it also. Yeah. And and the clear is specific to the paint. Yeah. It's a very specific process, but at that level, that's what you get. So, but you don't have to. So that's the point. You could actually paint a car and be cheaper if you don't want or need that quality of a paint job. I don't even know if I need that quality of a paint job.
Oh, then the colors cost different. There's different prices for the colors too. You get red. I think red. When last time I did a car, it was more expensive than any other color.
I was gonna say the first time I painted when I had my Harley, I painted it red, and I did some multicolored flames, and the paint. I went and picked it up, and I was like, at the time, I think I paid $80 for a quart. I was like, what? And the guy says to me, yeah, well, red's one of the most expensive colors you could buy. I said, it's one of the most common. He goes, no, because red has gold in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit! I didn't. You look at the color chart. You look at the formula for the paint, and it's amazing. There's like my paint has about 14 different colors in it in different mixtures, to make the final color. And we found out when we tried matching the paint, they couldn't match it. They couldn't match it. And literally just painted it 3 years ago. So what we figured out happened was the painter, he has the formula and he goes in and, we've seen it on TV. They put the cup in the machine and it's like Home Depot where they pull the lever.
2 extra drops or something. Yeah.
A little bit of black. So that's what he did. He either put a couple extra drops of something in or a couple less drops of something else in and made his own color.
Yeah.
Now the problem was you couldn't replicate it. You couldn't match it unless you decide to play with every color in the spectrum. And it's
well, like you said, unless he really. I mean, I've watched those guys, because they put it on a scale and they're weighing what the paint they put in.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of funny sometimes. I've had guys say, the extra drop, they'll be drunk, they'll put a drop, extra drop, and I'm like, and they're like, oh well, it's this color. It won't affect this color.
Right.
And you're like, what do you mean it won't affect this color?
Right. Oh, it will. It will. In fact, you know what? Justin, good to see you.
You guys too.
Sorry, Justin, I'll show you something.
All right, I'm waiting.
Hold on, Justin. Sit down. Relax, man. Relax.
Dude, you can't get more relaxed than me. I'm relaxed, let me tell you.
You got to be uncomfortable. You're not on your Cadillac seat, though.
I'm not.
Seat is.
I'm not freezing in the garage right now. So
oh, okay.
That helps.
That makes sense.
Nope, I'm relaxed. We got a big show in a week, but I'm relaxed.
Nice. Yeah, I had a 2006 Mazda Speed Fix, and it was just Velocity red mica. So in the sun, it's like heavy metallic. Yeah. And it was like oranges sometimes, like when the sun was hitting it, you could look like orange. And it was real. I love the color. But I got into a wreck. Someone hit me in the side. And I'm like, you going to be able to match this? The painter's like, oh, yeah, it'll be fine. He wound up painting like just missing the whole door, almost the whole side of the car. And so there was the driver's rear that got hit. And then I got the car back and I'm looking at the bumper and around on the other side that he shouldn't have touched. I go, what happened? This side's darker. He goes, I didn't touch that. He goes, all I did was I put some clear. When I was painting the other side, I came around with some clear. I go, well, that must change the colors. It's a lot darker now. He goes, oh, I don't know what to do. And he tried buffing it. And I sold the car after that.
It's a bear to match paint. I hand it to our paint guys. They're good at it. I mean, we've had a couple of them we couldn't match, but for the most part, they're pretty darn good.
Now with the computer match, it's easy, but these are the spray out cards. You can't see on camera how different these are.
Yeah.
And it ends up.
They look like
this is the color of the car. So, although that may look
they look kind of the same.
These are all wrong.
Yeah.
And that's how many. He had the guy from the paint company come down. Guys flew in, and they were color matching, and they said, I don't know, we can't make this. We can't get this color to match. Where'd you get it from? Because we just shot it a couple of years ago. It's like here. So of course it was a different paint company, but they all say they could do what anybody else can do.
Yeah.
We had a 40 Ford came in for some insurance work. Gosh, it's probably 6 years or so now. And we could not match what he had.
Yeah.
And we had to respraying the whole car a different color.
That's right. Right. So that's what happened to me. He says, you know what? He was going to do like 3/4 of it just to make the metallic lay right. Because you can't patch metallic. It'll never lay the same way. It only lays that way once, and that's when you initially spray it. So, I mean, they can do blends and they can do fades. They can play around with it. The good guys know what to do, but if it's too big of an area, now you're painting 2 pounds. So he was already going to paint 3/4 of the car. I said, you know what, Ray? He goes, we're just going to scuff it. He goes, and we're just going to paint the whole car.
We got a GTO in the shop right now that we're doing some work on, and that's probably gonna be the same deal.
Yeah.
Paint the quarters and the doors. We'll see if we got to get into the fenders.
Right.
We'll probably end up painting both sides of that car.
What color is the car?
Gold.
Oh, it is gold. Is it a factory color or is it?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's at aftermarket.
Yeah. Well, because the factory stuff is single stage, so that's easy.
The car was done, I think he said in the 90s.
Okay.
Which is, I'm surprised it looked as good as it did.
Well, I'll tell you, that was base coat, clear coat time. That was when I had a car painted in, and that's when we used the acrylic primers and the acrylic clears with the hardener in them. And that stuff was bulletproof. It was great, but
I was impressed, especially as much filler was on the quarters of this car.
Really?
That it held up the way it did.
Wow.
There was probably 3/4 of an inch on the one quarter panel.
Yeah, if you ask the guy how many miles have you driven it since that paint job, he might tell you, 2,000.
Right.
How many cars don't get driven?
Yeah, good chunk.
It's kind of common.
Pretty fortunate we got some good customers that drive their stuff.
Right.
That Chevelle we took to Detroit last year. He's probably got 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it just last summer.
Nice. Oh, that's great for one summer. Jeez, that's great. That's excellent. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. No, you guys turn out some great stuff. You really have some good. You got good clientele, but you got great workers. Any new guys in the shop that you had to break in?
We got one guy. I guess new. He's been there for a couple months now. He actually was an assembler at the Roadster shop.
Okay.
And
cool.
He came back. He's from our area, so he ended up moving back home. Awesome addition to the team.
And does he have a specialty, or is he an all around kind of guy?
Mechanic stuff, like I say, assembly. He's a heck of a hardline builder.
Oh yeah.
That was one of his big things. Like he did all the brake lines and stuff on the chassis that were assembled.
Okay.
So he can bend up a heck of a stainless line.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, there's definitely a talent to that. Yeah, there's this guy at a local gun shop I'm dealing with, and he's got some people have quirky car collections, and he has, I think, 6 or 8 of them, but like Dodge Shadows and Lasers, and those cars of all that are from the 80s and 90s of that ilk, like the 2.2 liter jobs.
Does he have a GLH Omni? Does he have one of those?
He probably does.
Right, those GLH, yeah. I
mean, he's been driving the Shadow and the Laser. I saw them both the last couple of days. So we were talking, and he said, the problem is now he needs brake lines more than that. I said, wow, can you find a factory line, a pre-bent line, or a company that makes a pre-bent line? I said, that would be my recommendation on the way to go. He says, I haven't found anything. So I said, I'll look. I looked and I couldn't find anything. I said, look, I found hoses and rolls of tubing. So I said, you're going to have to make those lines. I said, it's not hard, but with that car, I said, remember, you're going to have to do bubble flares and metric fittings. It's not going to be American. And I don't know how hard those cars are, how they routed them. I worked on a Ford Focus. It was kind of cool. They ran the lines right down the middle of the car. I was like, man, this is great. I had to change about 5 feet of line. It was really easy. It was right down the middle. I was like, that was pretty cool. But I don't know how his car is lined up, but I don't know. So I said, yeah, that's the problem now. Cars of that age are starting to need that kind of work. And if you can't find the stuff factory or pre-made by an aftermarket company like inline brake or stainless tube, I said, you're on your own. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if that's going to manifest itself into something else. If he'll ever find something, I don't know. Indiana Jones is with us.
It's rodeo week down here.
Where's the Cisco Kid?
Yeah, it's rodeo week down here.
Hey, he's got his planet. What color is that shirt? Tan or something? What is that? Gray?
It's gray.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not sure the stream is big enough for the two of us.
Yeah, right. Nice pictures, Isaac. Very cool.
Yeah, I dressed up yesterday. We're out for today and tomorrow for rodeo week. We get the days off.
So,
Wow.
so that's really a thing by you, huh? Rodeo week.
Oh yeah, rodeo's
Yeah.
in town, so
Hmm.
yeah, we well, it's funny because the principal had mentioned since last week on the morning announcements on Wednesday, dress up in your cowboy gear if you want, and it ended up only me and the principal were dressed up yesterday.
Ah,
I had several people come up. I'll say people. I won't say who. Come up and they said, was there a memo that went out?" And I said, "It was on the announcements. You don't watch the announcements?"
yeah. So nothing about you. So yeah, I guess no. I guess you're not in the right area for plane crashes then.
Actually, the one I saw it on the Today Show, the one where the Cessna and the other small plane hit each other.
Yeah.
That's probably it's about maybe 20 miles. It's probably about 10,
Wow.
15 minutes drive time from me. Actually, I drive right by there on the holidays when we spend time with family. We drive right by there.
Wow, that is close. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. What's going on? I mean, I know air traffic control is getting fired. There's a lot of plane crashes. I have 3 of them, right? Just 3 in the last, if you don't count Canada, just in the last couple of months.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in this one, it's a real small airport. There's a lot of private flights out of there, and they're small planes. I don't even know if they fly like Learjets out of there, but they fly mostly uh, single or dual prop planes, and they do some of the skydiving out there. So
Right.
those will be the dual prop. Um, but I guess I didn't realize, but I guess they don't have a tower on that at that airport.
Oh, wow.
They do have a communication center from what they were saying, but for some reason, I always thought there was a tower there, but
Right.
I guess there's not. Um, they rely on the communication center and then whatever the pilots communicating with each other.
And they're probably not flying by instruments. They're probably flying by sight or by command.
Yeah, I heard. So there's still stuff coming out with it, but this morning on the local news they said something about, and I'm thinking it's the Cessna, that it was a training flight, that it was a pilot in training. Um, so, and I think those are the two. I don't quote me on it because it's still coming out, but I think those are the two that unfortunately lost their lives.
He took a danger drive. Yeah.
So
It's-
yeah, but like I said, it's the information's still coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to the school yesterday and then I got a feed saying there was a crash there, and I was like, when did that happen? Well, I didn't realize it had just happened.
Mm.
So
Wow.
there was it hit national news, I want to say early 2000s. There was a crash of the Osprey, the Marine,
Oh, yeah.
out there, and there were 19 soldiers that lost their lives. I guess they were doing a night training out there. So there, even though it's a small, quote unquote, private airfield. I guess the military does do some training out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, to happier subjects, Justin, how do you guys handle brake bleeding at the shop? What's your what modalities do you prefer and use most?
We got the vacuum bleeder deal, but then I usually use that to get some fluid running through the system and then throw a guy up in the car and just manually bleed it. Just seems to
Dump, right? That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it just seems to be a good kind of way to finish it off and get everything out.
Yeah. I think you probably move the most amount of fluid that way because now you have the full volume of the master cylinder bore. You know, I
Right.
was going to say before I used the Mighty Vac suction bleeder that uses shop air, and I always just throw the thing wide open and open the bleeder valve. And then I found a couple times I was playing around with it. I wasn't seeing a lot of flow, so I cut down on the air, like I cut it in half. And then I think I almost saw more fluid coming through. I don't know why. So, I played around with it just to see if I could, like I said, I did see a difference with it. So that was interesting.
I'd have to try that.
Yeah, interesting. By all means. But, yeah. So I had a guy who listened to the show, and then he left a comment on the YouTube video of the show. Not Keith. It wasn't Keith. It was somebody else.
I was like, what?
Keith is first, though. Keith's always first in, always.
Because I listen to it usually like on Sunday or Monday, or probably Monday. And I'm like, oh, I got to leave a comment.
Jim, you should start commenting, too. You're always commenting to me. Put it on the thing. Then we'll get it'll raise our putrid metric, which is ridiculously phenomenally
Hate that.
What are you up to?
terrible.
They never get read like that.
What's that, Jim?
They never get read when I put them on the regular thing.
Well, no. On the once the YouTube video goes up on YouTube, yeah, now it's not live anymore. But I go in and check. Keith will always leave a comment, and then I just watched another guy's video the other day, and actually, you know what? I did. And then also when we were talking about it here, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? The comments are even more important than likes and follows. And
Yeah, it's engagement.
no matter if they're good or bad or indifferent, it doesn't matter. That's what drives it more. So either way, this fella had written in. I'm not sure who he is because he uses just like a screen name, but he was talking about. He said we were talking about spray paint. I guess Chris was saying something about spray paint. Yeah, it's white spray paint. And he says, he said he always has the paint left in, and there's no aerosol. He goes, how come I have he had the opposite problem? So I said, you know what? I got something we're going to talk about on Sunday, and I'll show it to you on the video. And it's this.
Oh yeah.
Right? That goes refillable spray bottle. And I've seen these at Harbor Freight too. This one's a hell of a lot nicer because it's stainless steel. Where you fill it with the liquid of your choice, pressurize it on the bottom with. That's the thing. It doesn't say on here how much air. I didn't see
PSI need.
Yeah, how much air to pressurize it with. I don't think. Let me see. Ideal for lubrication, universal air valve, easy pressurization. But it didn't say how much air to pressurize it with.
I've always just hit it with the air. I have one, and I usually just hit it with the air. I've never.
Just give it
I figure if I put too much in, it'll blow the safety valve out, so that I'll know.
Right. Well, yeah. So I'm going to debut that on Sunday and show it because it's funny. I've had this for a couple of years and I haven't used it, and I'll tell you why. I can never decide what to put in it because if I put brake clean in it, which is great, now I can't put WD-40 in it, or I can't put Croyle in it, and so I'm like, I either got to get 5 of them.
I just wash it out. I clean it out. I spray them out.
Well, I know, but if I had brake clean there, I'd want to leave that as as my own pressurized brake clean.
Yeah, I have. Where did it go? I have one.
What do you use to clean brake clean out? I would use everything. I would clean it out with brake clean. So how do you get?
Yeah, well, I mean that's what I'm saying.
No,
There you go.
I have a couple of the bigger bottles, the Sure Shots.
Oh yeah, the one with the they use those at the shop. The body guys use them. They put Prep Soil in them.
Yeah, I have one that has acetone, and
Right.
I have one that has like a mineral spirit, a different mineral spirit.
Yeah, because they're always hitting panels and they're always using that stuff.
Yeah.
We should steal one of theirs.
There you
Come here, I need that.
I don't know what I did with it.
I'll hang one in
Oh,
the
you got a bunch of comments on the last one.
Well, that
8
was it.
comments.
A bunch. There was like 5, but each it was yours and that
1,
guy.
2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5.
Yeah, but
And you
that
replied.
actually counts the replies.
Yeah.
Because when I see yours, I see 1 good. Then I reply next time I come in, I see 2. I'm like, oh, 2. No, 2. 1 of them was my reply.
go.
So we're not breaking sound barrier records here, guys. 5.
No, you got 20 views on this one right here.
I know.
That's
I know.
Yeah.
that's
And
about
the week before was pathetic, and all of a sudden it just jumped up.
Week
And
That's
why?
about,
I don't know. I
that's
just
about
did
5 more than I got in my last one.
I don't
4
know
views
why.
the week before.
I just got something from the we had a staff meeting a couple weeks ago, and the station manager said that a lot of people like you, Keith, listen on the stream, and Brian they can't listen terrestrially, and and he said we can now see what the streaming numbers are. So I asked him, I said, how do I do that? So he walked me through. I got on the site, and now I can see what the numbers are for the stream. There's like 35 people listening on the stream. I'm like, okay, that's pretty darn good,
So that's on like Spreaker or whatever streamers that they.
Yeah, we
guys
go
reach out
out. It goes out on Spreaker, iHeart, TuneIn.
WHPC, right? It goes on there on that channel.
It's all good. Yes, I think there's another one too. And then we broadcast it again. We put it out to this place called Performance Motorsports Network. We've been with them for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's a guy out of PA who was looking for automotive content. So, we were hoping to get paid for it, but we said, you know what? If you'll rebroadcast it, take it. We give him the show every week, and he just puts it up. He was putting it up like 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten anything out of it. You think you get like a caller or somebody, but no. That's a lot of racing stuff. That network, they handle a lot of racing, local racing, and even some NASCAR stuff. And it's
probably a lot of dirt track stuff.
Hey, you see Cletus McFarland on the ARCA race?
No.
Oh, Jim has. All right, well, that was it.
Yep, I saw it.
What did he do?
He got wrecked twice by the same person. That was the highlight.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
The car hit the car. Yeah, it's ARCA, I guess. You know what? I've never heard of ARCA before. This past weekend.
Really?
Yeah. I never.
I mean, they run an ARCA race at Daytona.
Yeah, I know they. Yeah, they do it at Daytona. I didn't know what. Huh? I didn't know what ARCA was. I'm like, oh, this is like.
ARCA is one of the last of the independent stock car sanctioning bodies, because back in the day, not only was there NASCAR, but there were 5 or 6 other sanctioning bodies that were doing stock car racing, and people would go to all the different circuits. NASCAR got so big that they eventually either went out of business or they got swallowed up. In fact, last year, NASCAR bought ARCA.
Right.
Okay.
Basically, ARCA is Cup without the money.
Yeah, that's the pre-step. So
it's a starting bed for the guys, right?
Starting, yeah. So
it's
there's
the start of getting into the super speedway stuff. As a matter of fact, if you look, they're using Cup cars from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you still see Ford Fusions, Chevy SSs. They don't use the Mustangs or the Camaros.
Yeah, they still have Dodges too, I think.
No, the Dodges are gone. Dodges are
Neons and ARCA? I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen a Dodge because a lot of the cars are built by the same teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you want a car, you go to you want a Toyota, you go to JGR. You want a Chevy, you go to Hendrick.
So I guess that's how they train the upcoming drivers for the Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good introduction for anybody coming up. Like you're really not even allowed to race Cup until you've raced somewhere else first, because Cup is really, really. I mean, those guys be amazed at how good those guys really are. I had a buddy of mine who almost made it. He had to ride in a NASCAR track and truck series, but it only lasted the one season, and he was like, "Man, the politics when you get to that level is ridiculous."
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But he did get
That's
a win.
what they used to do that where, you had the ARCA series, and they'd find somebody that they throw them in the truck series, and then from the truck series you go to the Bush series or Infinity, and then
Xfinity.
Xfinity, and then into the Cup series. But ARCA,
Russian politics, that's
it's
its own deal.
Yeah, and that's the stuff you don't see.
Yeah.
You talk about Cletus. I was watching him. He actually did pretty good. I mean, I was kind of impressed with the way he did, but it's Daytona. If you're not watching what you're doing, you're going to get into a wreck.
Yeah, I don't know how the only way I saw it that he would have not gotten into a wreck is just slow down, let everybody wreck in front of him, because you knew it was going to happen because you saw smoke coming out of that tire, and just let him wreck and then try to get through it. But this is his first time ever doing this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
it is so hard. And
Yeah.
ask Helio Castroneves what it's like to race at Daytona.
Oh yeah,
The guy hit everything but the pace car.
Did he wreck every car he was in that weekend? Or?
Yes, he did.
and they said that he was voted in.
Well, no, they
allowed a special privilege for that.
This was the first year they opened it up, and they called it something driver provisional. That if you go through a certain program, and if you're like a top driver from another series, they'll let you in just to get you in, just to get the exposure. Yeah. Now the interesting thing is he had to qualify to get into the 500. He didn't make it, but he got in on that provisional thing. But they didn't pay him any money.
He crashed some shit up.
My dad suggests they should have just taken the fenders off the car. He probably would have been fine.
You look at some of the wrecks he was in; they really weren't his fault. He was just wrong place, wrong time, and had no place else to go.
Well, that's one thing about it. You can't be too far back. You can't lose the draft. But when you're in that draft, man, you're being sucked in. And I tell you one thing: that 60 car taking flight, that's going to be a whole nother can of worms with those.
Man, that car looked like it had it like it was an aero coupe because it just hovered.
It just hovered around there. I can only imagine sitting in that car and not hearing anything like that, or just just being in that state of limbo. It had to be unreal.
I don't know if you watch the coverage, they showed where they have the bus stop chicane in the back straight, which is really for the sports cars. Yeah. But up until this year, it was all grass, and the reason why they paved it was last year Ryan Freed spun out, got caught in the gas, and flipped over 25 times.
Wow. That same guy in the 60 car. That's the reason why they paved that back.
Yep.
They took the grass out and paved the back. Yeah, because he wrecked last year there.
And he flips over in almost the same spot.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. If you watch the wreck, you can see where just as the cars are starting to wreck, his front wheels jump on the top of the front wheels of the cars next to him, and then another car just hit him the right way, and the air caught the underneath of the car, and it wasn't going slow enough to come back down.
Yeah. I've been there at Daytona. We were sitting on the back stretch, and it was, I guess it was Bobby Labonte who was driving. And I don't know if it was with Tony Stewart. They were all teammates. It was Joe Gibbs. And you're sitting there, and all of a sudden the car got picked up, and you're sitting there at the wall, and all of a sudden you see the car come up and just kind of hover there, and all the cars creating the vacuum underneath of it, and all of a sudden the car just kind of floats back and lands on top of another car. It's just the craziest thing ever, seeing that with that wind. or the air movement. And this car sitting there floating right over top of
Floating by.
everybody.
Speaking of cars and series, I got to mention I did see something on YouTube this week, the new Matco video with what's his name? God, the new toolbox, the new 6 that came out with Antron Brown's.
Oh yeah, the 4 series. It was a 4 series.
4, I thought it was a 6.
Yeah.
They had Antron talking about it. It was kind of cool. That's a pretty cool graphic.
Yeah.
With the rail, pretty neat.
Yep.
Yeah,
That is how that he's had. They've done one, I think, every year for him or something like that. 'Cause I've sold a couple. Not this one. I've sold one of his other models, or other boxes with the race car.
Yeah.
The dragster, yeah. The funny car. Not a funny car, but Top Fuel, right?
Yes, it's a rail, yeah. And kind of like the tires was spinning and it kind of ate up the pavement. In the back, it was kind of it was skewed. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I don't have a flyer with it either.
Very cool.
Yep.
Right. You know what we should do? We should, I guess, end this live session. Since we're kind of just hanging out, and then we'll just stay and do our own thing. So now we'll end Playing in Traffic. Lewis Lee is working on the bus. He'll be back next week. I'm working on getting my buddy Tony on. His dad's in just going into hospice, so he's not having a great time right now. So he's going to be out for a little while. We won't be able to get him, but we'll see. I'm sure there's somebody else who will line up. Lewis has a long arm of guests. So with that, for the crew, Brian, Justin, Isaac, Keith, Jim, Ray, we'll be back next week. Tune into Motormouth Radio on Sunday.
You got it.
Hey guys.